The trees snapping from the water that are like this big around, just snapping like toothpicks. Like that sound had to have been so deafening and scary. Like, what's up? It's Timbo Stunts from Champion Power Sports.
Nate Reifenberg from Reif Motorworks.
Today we were going to talk a little bit about our trip down to North Carolina. We went with the Big Indian Drift Pit, tried to help with some relief efforts for the hurricanes. The things we saw,
it was eye-opening.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. What were some of the towns that we went through? We went through like so many little towns, and
Well, we approached on 26 toward Johnson City, Tennessee, and that's when we first saw some like burning brush piles and chunks of the interstate just gone.
Yeah, it was weird too. Like on our way down there, like
There was nothing.
It was nothing. It was like a normal day.
Yeah.
Just a normal day. Everybody was going on with their business, and then we slowly started seeing stuff like you said.
Yeah, when we snaked our way along the remains of 26 to get toward 19. We wanted to get towards Burnsville that day and toward Mount Mitchell. And it took, for a 26-minute trip, it was like 3 hours and some minutes.
Yeah, the GPS kept wanting to take us on some crazy routes.
I had to ignore it.
Yeah, you had to just keep going through. And you can see why, though. I mean, the pieces of the road were just completely gone.
We had to turn around in a couple spots.
Yeah. Like if you had a semi-truck, we would have been screwed. We went down with two big rigs with side-by-sides, fuel, like
Skidder.
a skid steer, gas and diesel, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, all that, to help in any sort of way we could. We were going to bring back more if we could figure out a way that we could get bigger equipment there. The issue is it's really hard to, in two different aspects. There's already, and I love seeing it, there's a lot of people going down there and donating their time and effort.
Yep.
And then two, so like it's kind of hard to find in certain towns anyways. It's hard to like find some way to help because there's so much help in certain towns. The flip side of that though is sometimes there's so much help in one town that like the other one is being totally disregarded or neglected. I don't want to say disregarded, but neglected because they're not talking about it.
Some of the roads couldn't handle trucks that we brought.
Yeah. Like that one road, our first, what was that little community that we went to at first? What was the name of that?
It was just south of Micahville. It was along the base of Mount Mitchell.
Yeah, that.
And their bridge was so decimated, barely got over it with Tim's truck. There was no way to continue past it.
Yeah, and then when we went up that road that goes past it, you would never even know that was a paved road at one point. It was crazy. It just
it turned into narrow and gnarly for a side-by-side. Yeah. It was a 2-lane like county road.
Yeah, and you could barely get a side-by-side. We crawled at like 2 miles an hour in my truck. It was crazy.
It was nasty.
The thing that had me mind blown on the whole incident down there is that one side of a mountain, there's people, like in Asheville, for example, there's people running down the street with headphones on, exercising.
Yeah, some areas were perfectly clean.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to take anything away from Asheville, but like that's all you're hearing about on the news is Asheville, and you're not hearing about any of these small towns that need the help. There's people that are resuming normal life in Asheville, and these little towns. What was it, Mitchellville? That's supposed, or Mitchell County, that was going to be 100 days.
Over 100 days without their running water, their municipal water down.
And we're not talking about that at all. Like,
nope.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we went past Spruce Pine and towards Green Valley Fire Department. We asked for directions that night, and their back half of their building was washed away, and it's condemned, and they shouldn't be in it. But they're in it, working their area, helping people still.
Doing what they can. Speaking of the fire department, we stopped at quite a few fire departments too.
We did. We found that those were good hubs of where things were getting done.
Yeah.
And Green Valley Fire Department was one we were at. Linville Fire Department, Elk Park Fire Department, and there were churches, countless churches along in between too.
Yeah, that's right.
Also organizing folks,
trying to distribute fuel even too for people for the generators, keep them going. And yeah, it's amazing seeing the community pull together. You know, you see in these apocalyptic movies where at the end people are single file line handing debris up the mountain,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, that's so corny. That doesn't happen.
no,
It's real.
that's how it
That's
was.
really what's happening. Unfortunately, you got some a select few of people that are not quite behaving at night. So we heard
There
about.
was a
And,
couple cases, but not as bad
yeah,
as the news seemed to make
right.
it.
Yeah. From what we saw, anyways,
Yeah.
from the areas that we were in. But yeah, I just feel like there's so much more that could be talked about that we're not talking about. We're not discussing. No one's talking about it. We don't even know half these counties and towns.
Yeah.
All we keep hearing about is Boone and Asheville.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and Chimney Rock.
and Chimney Rock.
Chimney Rock did have a massive chunk of it taken out.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other towns that had that same type of thing happen.
Right. And we're not like trying to take away from them at all, but like there's other people that need some help too.
Minneapolis was one
Yeah.
that just the downtown. It's a small little niche, little tiny town, but it's just wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
There are
incredible.
houses, there are businesses that have their bridges gone.
Yeah. And now we had this other one just come through Milton, just come through Florida. Thank God that slowed down from a Category 5 to a 3.
Down to
right? Was it a 3? I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank God it went down to a 3.
Rolled through there quick too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They can just camp out like Helene did, and
that's what you were trying to explain to me. The one that went cut up through North Carolina, that changed course and hovered, and that's why it was so bad, right? Because it just sat there,
got
dumped,
stuck on the mountains there, basically.
Yeah.
It went past them, but a lot
got
of
hung
rain
up
fell out there.
Yeah. And we were thinking too, right, that half of the issue with like in Asheville was all the rivers from those valleys that are really messed up sent all that debris and all that water to Asheville, and that's
Asheville
why.
and Johnson City.
Yeah.
They both had big deluges of water flow through once it got to the valley.
Yeah.
And having dams overflow.
It's seeing what we saw down there. I don't know. My impressions were like we always think we have incredible acts of God and Mother Nature here with our snowfall.
Yeah.
But man, I don't think I'll ever complain about snow again.
No,
what about
no,
you?
I can't.
Like, at least
4 feet, 5 feet. You work it out, you shovel it out, and you're back. You're back in a few days.
Right.
And down there, they're gonna have a few years in some areas.
You were telling, I heard you talking to one of the locals there, like at least back home, your house is still underneath the snow. It didn't.
We can dig it out.
It's not in the next county over. Like it's like you just said, it's going to take years. How does North Carolina as a whole even come out of that? Like they're going to be hurting for a while. Some of these people that we saw like have nothing, and there's been times in my life I went. We all have our seasons in life where we have our low times and whatnot. And I've said in the past when I was in my season, I have nothing. Like how am I going to make it through this? And then it's so humbling. You go down there and you're like, no, some of these people have nothing. This is nothing.
And they've got a lot of rebuilding to do, but their attitudes are pretty positive.
Yeah.
And they were helping each other out. Even complete strangers, just helping.
That's what blew me away, was seeing how many people went down there. They're not even locals. I mean, there's locals there helping too, but
and there was out of region contractors and
just doing what they could.
Yeah, demo guys.
One of our buddies, Jason from Enchanted Mountain Recovery, he was down there, putting in his time. This is his busy season up here, and
Eric wanted to take that boom crane down there.
Yeah.
All of his side by sides.
Yeah.
That skidder was
Eric
great.
Eric White. How much he donated? What it had to have been? How much fuel? It was quite a bit of fuel, right?
There was a couple 100 gallons.
Yeah, we wanted to get more. We wanted to get more out. What were you and Roger went out?
Yeah, we did a fuel run for Curtis Creek Church outside of Elk Park. And they were still running on generators. The houses past there were running on generators. It was 4 miles from our rig. And that trip was at least a couple hours. It was 2 hours.
To go like 4 miles.
Yeah. and then
Wow.
come back out of it.
Well, yeah, still, that's
And that was
incredible.
with a side by side with
On
big
side by
tires,
sides.
and
Yeah.
it took work to get that out there. But
Yeah.
they were so happy when we delivered that in there,
Yeah.
and they offered us hot meals, and
That was,
they
you know,
offered us shelter.
that was incredible
It was
when
it was
they,
heartwarming.
yeah, heartwarming. That's the word I'm looking for. These people are needing outsiders' help, but then they're still trying to offer us food. You
Yeah,
know,
the
that's how
hospitality is
the
still
hospitality was
amazing.
incredible through these hard times.
Wasn't
And
just that village. Everywhere we
yeah, right,
stopped,
right.
they were ready to help the helpers.
Yeah,
I took pictures as we went of all the fire departments, and I didn't see any ones in the churches, which was surprising. But I was taking pictures of their QR codes for their Venmo, figuring when we get back home, there's a way that people at home can see the direct way to the people, to the fire department that's washed
yes.
away, how to really help right on the ground, not through third party organizations.
Yeah, because these individual QR codes, they were per,
They were right to that building
yeah, yeah.
and
So
that
you know your
department.
money's going
It
right
went
to who
straight
you're
there.
intending to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
listen, I have donated to the ones we took pictures of this weekend
yeah,
once we were home.
yeah,
Just we knew that way worked.
yeah. Uh, Speaking of which, I was thinking, I don't know how it could be fathomably possible, but to make it's hunting season here in Pennsylvania and New York, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that are hungry down there, and I know
Mm-hmm.
myself, I always have extra venison to go around. I was thinking of a way that we could set up like a donation drive for venison to send down there. I don't know how we do it, whether we send it in the mailable styrofoam, the
Mailable.
foam cooler things. You'd have to like get it during normal business hours, as if like we had a drop here at
Yeah,
Champion Power
into the
Sports and at Rife
freezers.
Motor Works, Big Indian. And after you got an acceptable amount, you send it out.
Yeah,
It'd have to be during normal business hours, so you don't have just meat rotting sitting outside on a porch or something, you know.
yeah.
But I don't know. That would take some thought and effort, but I think that could help because people are going to need some food down there.
And it is hunting season for them down there, but not everybody has access to it.
Yeah, yeah.
How would how many do you think are hunting out there?
You know, that's hard to say. A lot of the folk down there just seem like us up here. You know,
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of people hunting there. I get that, but
I saw a fisherman.
yeah,
He was out
yeah,
fly fishing.
yeah. And granted, I'm sure there's people down there helping donate to other counties that are more that were hit worse than they were.
Harder, yeah.
But for the most part, people that are in need down there, they're probably going to be hunting or fishing for themselves right now just to get
Yeah.
by. So us more fortunate folk up here, we could be helping out and sending some food down there. So the others that are trying to get their own venison for themselves to feed their own families don't have to worry about trying to split it up to help others as much.
Mm-hmm.
We can do our part up here, you know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop at just a Venmo and sending some money. It could be other things too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, people are already sending water and stuff, but what about, you know, just nature grown food? That's some good protein there.
Something you cook.
Yeah, yeah.
It is getting on winter. I helped in Roger as well. We worked in a couple of the donation centers to organize because they got us stuff in, but it's all sorts of scrambled up.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see lots of diapers and baby food and some formula. That was really low at this particular one. There was like 3 cans in this whole building. But also, I did not see a whole lot of blankets.
Really?
No. And winter's coming. One guy in Curtis Creek, he was like, I hope our power and things are back because a lot of houses just use a heat pump and there's no power. They have no way of staying really warm with winter coming in. So transition to some blankets and coats is going to be needed.
Yeah, because I've seen it must be the most common thing to send is water. Bountiful cases and cases and cases of water everywhere you looked. And I'm not saying water's not important, but
have it.
But there's
Some
other things too.
For 100 days.
Yeah, you got some old blankets, some old sweaters. Like I said, like we saw that we could see into some of people's closets as we drove by on the road. Some of these people have nothing.
Yeah, the house was just torn in half, and you could see right into the bedroom closet.
Nothing. We go through bad times and we want to say, oh, we got nothing, but like that's true, nothing. Like, you come back and your house is 800 yards down the road.
Or it just got ground up against the rock creek bed, like it was a block of cheese when you're shredding it on dinner.
It was incredible.
It just disappeared.
Some of the valleys that we were in, the destruction that happened through them, I can't imagine the eerie sound of that pouring rain, that rushing water, the wind, the trees snapping from the water that are like this big around, just snapping like toothpicks. Like that sound had to have been so deafening and scary. Like,
I commend those people.
Yes, that's something.
Soldiering through the way they are.
So, is there anything else you could think of that we could maybe do as a community of the United States to help? Or
I would say let's disregard the general media a little bit and just know there are people down there that really could use some help. If you want to support one of the places we saw, that's great, but do a Google search of fire departments or churches in the Burnsville area, the Asheville area, the
Mitchell
Elk Park
County
area, Mitchell County. Just do a Google search for those churches, find their number, and call them and directly connect with them.
Speaking of calling, that's the other tough thing in some of the areas is there's just like no service too. Yeah. It doesn't stop with just what you hear on the media. Like when you and I were listening to some stuff and like reading up on our own some info, and you overlook some things that the media doesn't even talk about, such as there's no service.
Yeah, cell signals are down.
Yeah, there's so much more going on that meets the eye on social media, for the better and for the worse. There's a lot of good going on too. It's not all bad. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on that we don't realize, but there's also a lot of bad still.
The recovery effort's going to take a long time, past when the news wants to cover it. It'll become an old story and they'll move on to something new.
Yeah.
But the way that mountainous terrain is, it's going to take years to fully fix everything up. It's just getting to it.
I was watching a YouTube video yesterday that a guy had a rappelling system to get down off his mountain.
Jeez.
Yeah, just to get down, and then
the
fire
department. Helicopter use what we saw, but a rappelling system.
Yeah, just for his small little community he has. It's almost like that one community we went to at first, but they're way up on a mountain.
A few houses.
Yeah, there was a landslide. And
took the roads out, so their communities left up here, and there's no way to get to it.
Yeah, the fire department came up to them even too. They like rappelled up to them, and
wild.
That was. That was incredible. I didn't really see anything going on with FEMA or anything down there.
No, we tried looking.
Yeah.
You guys did a drive on the second and third day, and
we
to look for how aid was getting sent around.
Yeah, Eric White and Trevor Briggs and I went, and it's the same concept. You drive certain places, you go through certain valleys, and it's nothing ever happened. It's like a beautiful fall day here,
just like
then you drive just 2 more minutes over a couple of zigzag roads, and it's just back to destruction again. Huge craters in the ground, holes, cars and tractors upside down, and places that weren't even a river to begin with that became a river.
Yeah, that's true.
So whatever we can do to help, I'd love for us to be able to help, even in the smallest bit. It's helping somebody. You saw the faces that we would get. We thought we weren't doing much for, such as an example of that elderly lady in that one home.
Oh yeah,
we moved her. She was halfway moved into another apartment when all this happened. Wasn't able to get help finished moving, so that, what would you call that? That duplex, or that
it was an apartment complex.
The apartment complex. They wanted to donate.
Citizens.
Yeah, the senior citizens home. They couldn't donate the one room to a family in need because it was half taken. She was
still halfway in it.
Yeah, so small little things like that went a long way.
And Trevor and you and I helped move her over, and her old apartment was empty. I wouldn't be surprised they had a family in that.
I guarantee you someone's in there now.
They definitely had somebody in there.
For sure.
Day.
Yep. There's people living.
They were waiting for it.
Tell me a little bit. You had more interaction with the guy at that thrift store. That's a personal one that kind of hit home.
Where we parked our rigs, it looked like a destroyed thrift store. And you could see through the windows of the door that the back wall had been washed out. And we just went on our operations. And the next day we come by and the guy was there. So I was talking to him after we got back from a run. And I told him, I'll help clean the mud out. You're trying to save the building, right? And he's like, yeah, we're not tearing it down. I said, okay, I'll help when I'm done getting everything back together. And he was like, really? Do I have to pay or is it volunteer? I said, no, it's volunteer time. I'll gladly help you out. Well, let me take you in and show you what happened. And he did. And everything was destroyed in there. It had mud and water fill the whole thing. And then he told me he's going to sleep there that night. And I said, well, is it just to keep the place safe? And he's like, no, I've got to stay here. And I said, why don't you just go home? We're camped out front. We're well prepared. We'll keep watch. It's like, he pointed to a tent behind me and that's my home now. His home was gone. His business was pretty much gone. And this guy's like 60. He's got nothing left.
That's a prime example there, man.
That had to have been so hard. And that's just the one guy we parked at.
Oh yeah, there were so many stories.
Every town's got that. And I don't know if that's being touched on by the media, is the personal level that this happened. He's living in a tent in his flooded out store.
Yeah.
And he's soldiering on. He's doing it.
Yeah, you just got life goes on. You just gotta keep on going in whatever way possible.
Experiencing it firsthand was completely eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I want to help any way we could.
Yeah. Because going down there, we knew what we were kind of getting into a little bit, but we had no idea what the emotions were going to come.
How heavy it'd feel.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope this helps you guys understand a little bit more and see what we can do to help the community out more.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Any help is appreciated.
Yeah.
They need it. They need it a lot.
Yeah. And I want to give a huge shout out to Eric White from ERW Enterprises and Big Indian Drift Pit for
he made this trip happen.
Yeah, making this trip happen to help these people that are in dire need. Mm-hmm. And I thank you for coming and talk with me today for a little bit.